confessing that although I love my family, most of the time I don't like my family. Everyone in my family.
Take a breath.
Everybody. I feel like I'm angry at everybody in my family. I don't like my family. If they weren't my family, they wouldn't be my friend.
The internet went absolutely wild when Ashley Braxton, the quiet niece nobody ever talked about, finally spoke out. After years of silence, she dropped a bomb that cracked open the shiny image the Braxton family had carefully built with gospel songs, fame, and glitz.
That is your man, as you call it. That is your man. He knew it was a situation with me and you. And he was down. He was down to play op games. I wouldn't take nothing like that serious, my love. That ate my ass, and I sent him on his way. It wasn't, you don't want me to expose how you were saying that you kicked her out and she went back to her mother's house. Not
Her voice shook, but her message hit hard. She was done protecting the very people who broke her down as a kid. For once, nobody was gossiping about Toni Braxton's chart-topping hits or Tamar's explosive reality show meltdowns. Nope, the world was focused on something way darker, something the family had buried for years under their perfect smiles.
Not Mrs. Braxton, not Mrs. Not Mrs. Singer with the sold out tour that JR also told me was flex. It was cap. It was she flexing. She don't have no sold out. Between me and you was his exact words. The tour not sold out. He said you was messy. He said you went back to your mother's house. He told me a lot of things that he shouldn't tell a stranger. I just met this man less than a week.
Ashley wasn't chasing clout, she said. She was chasing closure, and the way she said it sent chills down everybody's spine. She showed up on camera with that calm look you only get after years of crying behind closed doors. She told the world how being 16 and spending one summer with one of her aunts turned into the worst nightmare of her life. Something went down, or almost did, with her aunt's partner, and though Ashley never said any names, fans didn't need her to. The clues were all right there. The timeline, her tone, her trembling voice, it all lined up too perfectly to ignore.
But you can't be thinking you're gonna go have plastic surgery on the Groupon.
Exactly.
Like you,
The
ain't no
Botox
plastic
parties.
surgery on sale.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
And if it's on sale, 9 times out of 10, you're not supposed to get it from the person that's having a sale on liposuction. Don't do that.
And the worst part, instead of helping her heal, the family decided to hide it. They didn't want drama. They wanted silence. No police, no confrontation, no headlines. They just wanted the world to keep seeing them as gospel royalty while Ashley was left carrying the pain alone. That's when she said, enough was enough. She was taking her story back, and no Braxton was going to shut her up this time. That's the part that broke everyone's heart. Ashley said that instead of wrapping her in love, her own family turned their backs on her. The calls stopped, the invites vanished, and even her father, Michael Braxton Jr., told her to keep quiet. She remembered the moment he looked her in the eye and said, "Zip it up tight." Those words haunted her for years, like a ghost she could never escape. Decades later, she revealed that the same father who once preached loyalty and unity actually threatened her with legal action if she ever dared to speak her truth. Can you imagine? The man who taught her about family first was the same one trying to silence her. The betrayal in her voice was impossible to miss when she said, "I just wanted to be heard, not hushed behind a screen." It sent chills through everyone watching. That's when fans started connecting the dots. The aunt who suddenly cut her off, the partner who made her feel unsafe, and those old whispers about Trina Braxton's messy past marriage that fans always said had way too much chaos. Nothing was officially confirmed, but wow, everything lined up a little too perfectly to ignore. Still, Ashley wasn't out here naming names or trying to destroy anyone's life. She just wanted people to understand how powerful and painful silence can be. Because when a family chooses to protect their image instead of the truth, someone always ends up broken. And this time, it was Ashley. Ashley said the worst part wasn't what happened. It was being blamed for surviving it. That line alone broke the internet's heart. Then came the twist nobody saw coming. Toni Braxton saw the video, and everything flipped upside down. Tamar, the sister, known for speaking her mind, loud and proud, couldn't stay silent this time. She reached out to Ashley in private, and before anyone could blink, she invited her niece to appear on her live podcast. It was the first time in decades that any Braxton had publicly given Ashley a voice, and that move sent shockwaves through the family. Fans were stunned. Insiders were buzzing, and according to those close to the situation, Toni Braxton was furious. To Toni, family business was supposed to stay behind closed doors. No social media, no public talk, no exposure. But Tamar had a different mindset. She believed that healing needed sunlight, not shadows. The moment Ashley showed up on Tamar's podcast, the energy shifted. It wasn't about fame, music, or TV drama this time. It was about truth. Ashley opened up like never before, talking about what it was like growing up in a home where love always came with conditions. She revealed how her mother once removed her name from her birth certificate, how her father stayed distant, and how her stepmother turned their home into a battlefield of emotional pain. Every adult who should have protected her ended up teaching her one painful lesson: to stay silent. "I learned that being quiet kept the peace," she whispered, "but it also killed me inside." Those words hit like a punch to the gut, especially for fans who still remember Tracy Braxton's lonely final years before she passed. Another woman in the family silenced by the same cycle. And while fans were praising Tamar for finally shining light on the truth, Toni's reaction, according to close sources, was nothing short of rage. She allegedly called Tamar's podcast reckless, saying her younger sister was using family pain for clout and ratings. The family feud that started decades ago suddenly roared back to life, and everyone watching knew this was only the beginning of something explosive. Toni Braxton, the calm, collected matriarch who always kept the family looking polished, was terrified of the headlines that were about to drop. Imagine it splashed everywhere. Braxton niece accuses family of a cover-up. That's every PR nightmare rolled into one. Toni wanted it buried fast, craving damage control before things spiraled out of hand. But Tamar, she wasn't backing down. She wanted honesty, raw and unfiltered. Their private phone calls reportedly got so heated that Toni completely stopped answering. One insider even claimed Toni told a producer, "If Tamar wants to run her mouth, let her live with the consequences." That one line said it all. The Braxton house was officially divided. But here's the twist. The public wasn't siding with Toni this time. Everyone was rallying behind Ashley. Viewers saw a woman who had been pushed out by her own family, but still spoke with grace and strength. She didn't shout, didn't throw shade, didn't curse. She just told the truth with trembling hands and a steady heart. Ashley shared how therapy sessions in Europe helped her rebuild herself piece by piece. "I left the country to save my mind," she confessed, and you could feel the pain in every word. Living abroad had become her safe place, far from the noise, far from the whispers. But when tragedy struck and her sister, the one the Braxtons rarely spoke about, passed away, Ashley knew she couldn't stay silent any longer. She had to speak up, not just for herself, but for the sister who never got that same chance. So when Tamar officially announced that Ashley would appear live on her show in Atlanta, the fandom went into a frenzy. Social media exploded, fans were divided, and even longtime supporters couldn't believe that the Braxton family secrets were finally being dragged into the spotlight. Live for the whole world to see. This wasn't just another wild tabloid rumor. It was real, and it was happening in public. Ashley was finally telling her story, and one of the Braxtons, Tamar, was standing right there beside her. In that single powerful moment, the family known for their gospel harmony turned into a courtroom of truth. The internet couldn't look away. Everyone was watching history unfold right before their eyes. Fans went into detective mode, pulling up old interviews of Toni and Trina, dissecting every gesture, every pause, every blink. Was Toni's silence a sign of guilt? Or was it just grief from watching her family fall apart? Nobody could agree, but one thing was crystal clear. This was the most explosive Braxton family drama since Braxton Family Values went off the air. Ashley's words during one interview melted hearts everywhere. She said, "For once, I won't be alone on that stage. I'll have my aunt's hand to hold if I cry." That single line hit like a thunderclap, raw, real, and full of years of pain and longing. Within hours, it went viral across every platform. TikTok, X, Instagram, everyone was talking about it. Tamar responded with a simple red heart emoji under Ashley's post, confirming her support without even saying a word. Meanwhile, Toni didn't post anything. No comment, no like, not even a silent acknowledgement. And somehow, that silence screamed louder than any statement ever could. It became its own headline. Toni Braxton remains silent as niece prepares to speak out. Behind the scenes, things were getting messy. Michael Braxton reportedly warned his daughter again to stay quiet and avoid dropping names, while Trina completely disappeared from social media. Insiders whispered that Toni had even started pulling away from upcoming family projects, afraid that getting too close might drag her straight into the fallout. The Braxton family's perfect image was cracking right before the world's eyes, and nobody knew what would break next. Tamar wasn't backing down. She doubled down. Sources say she told her team straight up, "If the truth breaks us, maybe we weren't whole to begin with." That line leaked online through fan pages and instantly went viral. It became a rallying cry for survivors everywhere, people who saw themselves in Ashley's story and finally felt brave enough to speak too. By the end of that week, what started as a quiet confession had turned into a national conversation about abuse, silence, and the power of forgiveness. Talk shows were debating it. Social media was flooded with takes, and even fans who had never followed the Braxtons before were now hooked. For Ashley, this was never about revenge. It was about release. But for the Braxton family, it was a full-blown reckoning. That glamorous brand of sisterhood and success was starting to crumble under the truth they'd all tried to bury. Tamar was getting ready to welcome her niece to the stage, while Toni was reportedly doing everything she could to brace herself for what was coming. The one thing she hated most, losing control of the narrative. Because once Ashley started talking, the question wasn't if the family would respond. It was how far Toni would go to stop Tamar from turning their darkest secret into a public showdown. The night of the podcast felt heavier than a concert. Cameras flashed like crazy outside the Atlanta theater, and fans lined up down the block, whispering wild theories about what Ashley might finally reveal. Inside, the stage lights were dim, golden and soft, but the tension in the air was thick. Tamar walked out first, sleek hair, sharp outfit, radiating confidence wrapped in compassion. The crowd screamed as she took the mic. "Tonight isn't about gossip," she said. "It's about truth, healing, and courage." The audience roared with applause, but everyone could feel it. This wasn't just another podcast episode. This was a family reckoning dressed up as a live show. When Ashley finally stepped out, the whole room went silent. Her eyes glistened like she had been carrying years of pain, guilt, and silence inside her chest. And in that moment, you could tell something powerful was about to break loose. And this time, Ashley was finally ready to let it all out. Tamar reached for her hand, and that single, quiet gesture said everything. It was loyalty, rebellion, and sisterhood all rolled into one powerful moment. You could feel the love and the defiance bursting through the screen. Ashley took a deep breath, steady but trembling, and began to speak. She never said any names, but the pain in her pauses told the whole story louder than any headline ever could. She spoke about feeling unsafe, unheard, and unseen, about being blamed for things she never did, punished just for being a kid caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. And then came the line that broke everyone's heart. "I just wanted someone to believe me." The audience went completely silent. No whispers, no phones clicking, just heavy, aching quiet. Even Tamar's eyes filled with tears she couldn't hold back. It was one of those moments where the truth hit like lightning, raw, painful, and impossible to ignore. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, chaos was exploding inside the Braxton circle. Toni Braxton, according to insiders, was livid. Sources said she felt Tamar had turned the family's wounds into a public circus. To Toni, this wasn't bravery. It was betrayal. She allegedly called Michael that same night and snapped, "You need to handle your daughter before this goes too far." But by the time those words left her mouth, it was too far. The footage was already everywhere. Within hours, it went viral. Blogs were breaking it down line by line. Fans were debating every look, every tear, every word. Ashley's truth had already reached millions of ears, and Toni's trademark silence, the shield she'd always used to protect herself, suddenly looked more like guilt than grace. Back on stage, Ashley fought to keep her composure, but you could see her memories pushing through. Her voice cracked as she recalled her father's chilling words, "Zip it up tight." That phrase had haunted her for years, and now she was finally free from it, right there, under the spotlight, with the whole world finally listening. The crowd gasped when Ashley's voice trembled and she said, "I was told to stay quiet, to protect people who never protected me." That line hit like thunder, raw, heartbreaking, and unforgettable. Tamar squeezed her hand tighter, and in that instant, the whole internet exploded. Fans rushed to social media, flooding timelines with messages of support, tagging both Tamar and Toni, demanding answers, demanding accountability. Twitter, or X, was on fire. Some fans wrote, "Protect Ashley at all costs." Others repeated over and over, "Toni can't silence this anymore." It became a chant across the internet, a digital uprising of voices that refused to be quiet. As the show came to a close, Tamar stood up and pulled Ashley into a long emotional embrace. Both women were shaking, from relief, from fear, from everything they had just unleashed. The world was watching two generations of Braxton women face decades of buried truth. Live, Ashley whispered softly, "I finally feel free." And Tamar, tears streaming down her face, whispered back, "You were always free, baby. They just tried to make you forget it." That single exchange sent chills through everyone watching. The audience erupted, some clapping, some crying, some just standing in stunned silence, processing what they had just witnessed. For the first time in years, a Braxton woman wasn't singing a note. She was telling the truth. But freedom, as always, comes with a price. The next morning, chaos erupted behind closed doors. Toni Braxton reportedly called a full-on family meeting. According to one insider, she started with a line that said it all. "We are not turning into another reality scandal. We have Grammy Awards, not gossip columns." Toni wanted control back. She wanted the narrative cleaned up, the damage contained. She allegedly demanded Tamar release a statement claiming the podcast was taken out of context. But Tamar wasn't having it. She stood her ground and shot back. "The context is pain, and we're not erasing it again." That one sentence, brave, bold, and final, reportedly ended their phone call, and maybe even their relationship. The Braxton family's golden image had officially shattered, and nothing would ever be the same again. Behind the scenes, the storm was far from over. Michael Braxton was furious. Sources say he immediately reached out to lawyers, trying to block Ashley from ever mentioning his name again or using the family story in public. But this time, his threats didn't hit the same. The fear was gone. Ashley wasn't that quiet, isolated girl anymore. She had support. Legal teams, fans, survivor networks, everyone was standing with her. Organizations began reaching out, offering resources, and sharing her story as a powerful symbol of breaking generational silence. For the first time, the Braxton family's secret wasn't trapped behind closed doors. It had become a mirror for every family that hides pain behind respectability and polished smiles. As the story spread, major news outlets started picking it up. Toni's camp tried to spin it quick, calling it a private family misunderstanding. But the public wasn't buying that for a second. They had seen Ashley's trembling voice, Tamar's tears, and the raw emotion of that night. Nothing about it felt like a misunderstanding. To fans, this wasn't just another dose of celebrity gossip. It was something real. It was about a black woman reclaiming her story in a world that had told her to stay quiet for too long. And suddenly, that perfect, polished Braxton image Toni had worked so hard to protect started to look fragile, like a diamond cracking under the heat of truth. Days later, Tamar went live again, and she came with that calm but unshakable tone that said she meant business. Family doesn't mean silence. Family means accountability, she said, eyes locked on the camera. It was subtle, but everyone knew who she was talking about. Without naming names, she made her point loud and clear. She wasn't backing down. If being honest makes me the bad guy, Tamar said, then I'll be that. Her words echoed across every platform, and fans flooded her comments with love and fire emojis. The message was clear. The old Braxton family silence was dead, and the truth was finally louder than the fear. After Tamar's live ended, the comment section exploded. Thousands of people flooded in, some cheering her on, calling her brave and fearless, while others begged her to make peace with Toni. But Tamar stayed unmoved. Her loyalty wasn't to the Braxton brand anymore. It was to the truth. No filters, no fake smiles, just raw honesty from a woman who had seen enough. Meanwhile, across the ocean, Ashley quietly returned to Spain. She didn't post any long explanations, no interviews, no drama. Just one simple message on Instagram. You can heal and still hurt. You can forgive and still speak. That line hit everyone straight in the heart. It was powerful, poetic, and final. The kind of truth that doesn't need a headline to make noise. Within hours, the post went viral. Celebrities, therapists, advocates, everyone was sharing it. Even people who had never followed the Braxton family before were suddenly connecting to Ashley's message. She didn't need her family's approval anymore. She had the world's empathy. But while Ashley was finding peace, the Braxton family behind closed doors was falling apart. Insiders say Toni began skipping family events completely, avoiding both Tamar and Michael. The tension was thick. Nobody knew what to say, and everyone was walking on eggshells. Even Trina, who had stayed completely quiet through all of this, reportedly broke down during a family dinner, slamming her fork down and saying, "I'm tired of protecting ghosts." That moment, insiders say, left the whole table frozen. The sisters' bond, once their greatest strength, was now crumbling in private. Years of silence, pride, and pain had finally caught up to them. And while Ashley's courage brought her the peace she had fought for her whole life, the rest of the Braxtons were left staring at the wreckage of a truth they'd spent decades trying to hide. And for the first time in years, the Braxtons weren't the picture-perfect image of gospel and glamour. They were human, flawed, fractured, and finally exposed. The masks were off, and what was left wasn't fame or sparkle. It was truth, raw and unfiltered. By the end of the month, tabloids had a name for it: the Braxton Civil War. Headlines were everywhere, talk shows were dissecting every clip, and social media couldn't stop buzzing. Yet somewhere in all that chaos, there was something beautiful. Because for the first time ever, someone from that powerful family had turned deep pain into purpose. Ashley Braxton wasn't the scandal. She was the silence, finally breaking. She wasn't chasing clout or trying to drag anyone down. She was fighting to breathe after a lifetime of being told to hush. And though Toni Braxton may never forgive Tamar for dragging their truth into the light, the world had already made its choice. They chose honesty over image. They chose Ashley. In her final statement before stepping away from the spotlight, Ashley said words that left everyone speechless. "If telling the truth cost me my family, then I guess love was never really there." Her voice cracked, but her eyes stayed steady, clear, brave, and free. With that final sentence, she ended the story not as a victim, but as a survivor who refused to be erased, because no matter how famous the family or how polished the image, the truth always finds a voice. And this time, that voice belonged to Ashley Braxton, the quiet niece who finally said what everyone else was too scared to say. Her courage made the world stop and listen, made people realize that even the most glamorous families can carry the deepest wounds. Behind every perfect photo and award-winning smile, there's a story, and Ashley's story proved that silence doesn't protect anyone. It only hides the pain until someone brave enough decides to speak. So if you've been hooked on this wild Braxton saga, hit that like, drop your thoughts in the comments, and make sure to subscribe to Juicy Reel for more untold truths and explosive celebrity breakdowns. You won't want to miss what's coming next.